arrival in Berlin at Berlin Central Station. First impressions of Berlin, I'm really impressed with it. Some fantastic architecture on the journey on the train in. Trams, gotta love a tram.
Look at that.
And I'm here for a few days with my eldest son, Oliver. So I'm in Berlin for a few days with my eldest son here.
Just hanging out.
We got no real plan. It's just kind of like on a whim. I said, "Where do you want to go, Copenhagen or Berlin?" And he said, "Berlin." So here we are, and we're just going to spend a few days wandering around this it already looks like a glorious city. So I see this video as being more of like a kind of montage, really, rather than any kind of guided tour. And I mean, if you want information, you might want to look somewhere else. But we're going to do some of the usual things, and I don't know, just come with us for a stroll around Berlin for a few days. First impressions of Berlin are A, really impressed with it, but B, it's so kind of laid back and languid. Not what we were expecting at all. Live music. There was a lot old live music in there. Looks like it was called King Scala. Actually, that venue is also called the Oscar Wilde. Look at that, traditional Irish bar. This is the River Spree. I'm just going to cross here and then walk beside the river to the Brandenburg Gate. Here's the Reichstag Building. Such a powerfully symbolic building, isn't it? And just in front of the Reichstag, you've got this really beautiful park here. Lots of people lounging around. This is called Republic Square. So this is the memorial to Soviet soldiers that died in the fall of in the Battle of Berlin in 1945, and it was built by the Soviet army and then turned over to the Germans after the war. 2,000 Soviet soldiers were buried on this site during the Battle of Berlin. So we were thinking we got to go to the Ronald Reagan Memorial because we thought it'd be really funny. And I think this might be it. It's like a brass plaque in the ground. It says, "Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate, tear down this wall. Mr. Gorbachev." Well, that's the rest of it. It's in German. And so and here we are at the Brandenburg Gate, which presumably is where Ronald Reagan said those words. It's amazing to stand here at the Brandenburg Gate and imagine that was where the border between East and West ran right through here on the western side of the wall. What incredible! There's so much history here. It's unbelievable. Like Ollie said earlier on, it's all history. As Ollie said, we're going to cross now into East Germany. And we are now on the east side of the wall. This is the Goethe Memorial. We're in a chain of memorials now. A great German poet, of course. Here's the memorial to homosexuals that were murdered under the Nazi regime. So here we have the monument to the murdered Jews of Europe. It's a really powerful site. So we're just going to walk through the Tiergarten here, the big public park just to the west of the Brandenburg Gate. At some point we're going to have to sit down for a beer. So we're just going back across the River Spree, and we hope to find somewhere along that riverbank to have a drink. Have a pint of German beer, our first pint in Germany. We've got our beer right by the river. It's a lovely glass of, well, you have to drink Berliner Pilsner, don't you? This is the street we're staying on, and I'll put the name on the screen, but I've only just realised that the Berlin Wall ran down this street here, and we are stood on the east side, so this would have been a pretty intense location until the fall of the Berlin Wall. So the idea today is to take it a little bit easier than we did yesterday. We arrived yesterday morning, and I think we felt like by the evening we'd slightly overdone it. Yeah, Ollie hadn't slept the night before because we had to leave home really early, so Ollie has just had about 14 hours sleep. So I had to have dinner on my own last night.
Yeah.
I had veal schnitzel. It was very nice. Apologies to the... I know it's going to be horrific to anyone who's a vegetarian or a vegan, but there you go. And so today, I think we're going to take it a little bit easier today, and I feel like we're going to pick up on the whole Berlin Wall part of the story of Berlin, which didn't really it sounds odd, but it's only yesterday after we went to all those memorials, it really strikes you the intensity of what that would have been. I remember watching the Berlin Wall come down, as I'm sure many of you also did. So yeah, that's the theme of today, and we're going to, let's say, the aim is to not completely destroy ourselves. Also, we want to visit a couple of kind of like more neighbourhoody type areas. So I think we might walk up to Wedding, and then we're going to go. The plan is to go down to Checkpoint Charlie later, which is in Kreuzberg. So here's a chunk of the Berlin Wall. Kind of incredible to see it, isn't it? And then just next to it is a memorial over there in that park to the victims of the Berlin Wall. People, I guess, who were killed trying to get across it. It's the idea that there were completely different realities on either side of that wall. Completely different lives. Here we have the stories of some of the people who died trying to get through the wall. The shots were heard in the west after learning of Ottfried Reck's death. West Berlin has erected a monument and a white cross in his memory, which is up there. Ollie crossing the Berlin Wall. And there's an archive film on these posts you can watch. This one shows East and West Berliners waving to each other over the wall. So to the left would have been the west, and to the right of the shot here was the east. Wow. What were you saying else?
I said Berlin's kind of like a massive graveyard, because you've got death of all the people that were killed under fascism, you have the death of fascism, and you have the death of essentially communism right here. So it's a big city of ghosts, like both types of people and like ideology and stuff. States.
"21 years old, shot on the 1st of January 1963.
Horst Kutscher, 31 Jahre, erschossen am 15. Januar 1963.
Horst Kutscher, 31 years old, shot on the 15th of January 1963.
So I think we've got here like a little convoy of Trabants, the famous East German car. I think these are Trabants. So we got luck seeing those here, unless they drove past the memorial as part of the exhibit. I don't know.
They're on the wrong side of the wall.
This was the Stasi tunnel. I think Tunnel 57 is along here somewhere. I think that's been the subject of a BBC documentary recently. People keep telling me about it. And these metal plaques seem to mark the routes of the tunnels, the various tunnels that people dug. Yeah, Tunnel 57, 1964. So this part of the city feels very different to where we were before. We were thinking a lot of it actually could be any other sort of European city in France or Spain, or even Ollie was saying Portugal or Italy. But this has a very distinctive feel to it. It's very different to all the other parts we've seen so far. So, just after Ollie was saying that Berlin is a city of ghosts, and that should be the title of the video, which I found this book, Ghosts of Berlin, confronting German history in the urban landscape, so I had to buy that. It was a sign. I'm not sure what's going on over here, but there's a big banner on the thing saying no border, no nation. Of course, this was a city with a border running right through it. This is Kopenplatz. And Ollie was saying, walking through this district here, and this is one of the places I've read about actually as a kind of place to come out for a bit of nightlife. So this is where he would live. It feels very livable here. This is Rosenhaler Platz, a really busy thoroughfare. This is one of the kind of busier districts to come to if you want a bit of nightlife, cafes and bars and such like. This is like a gallery shop place. It's quite cool. I don't know what this building was. Some sort of old industrial building, but there's a cinema here and shops and stuff. It's quite interesting. Ollie likes it. So we're getting a bit of rain now as we once again cross the I've forgotten the name of the road, the Spree. And we're actually not going to go into the cathedral. We're going to head to a museum for the Karl Marx exhibition. Walking past this building here, and notice that this whole wall is peppered with bullet holes. Another building that's full of bullet marks on it. It's kind of incredible to see that. It's a pretty grim day, as you can see. So we've come down to the south part of the city. We're in Kreuzberg, or somewhere around the edge of Kreuzberg, and we're going to find a gallery or a museum to go and have a look at. Ollie wants to look at a bit of contemporary art, so we came down here on the underground, which was our first experience of that. So I often waffle on about modernism, don't I, and stuff like that in London, without knowing what I'm talking about. And Berlin is seen as being one of the kind of birthplaces of that in the 1920s. But I'm not suggesting that these are modernist, but this is an interesting bit of architecture here. The date on that apartment block over there is 1956. And I believe this is the gallery that we're going to, or at least I hope it is. So that exhibition was interesting. It was really powerful. I think Ollie found it really powerful.
Loved it.
And so I think now, like, it's a wet afternoon, wet grey day. It's about 9 degrees today, but I think we're just going to go wandering now. I'm just going to wander around this area. I think we're on the edge of Kreuzberg here, or part of Kreuzberg, and we're going to go to another area, hopefully cross a canal, go for a park or two. Basically just drift around this part of Berlin, which is really fascinating and quite different to what we've seen so far. This is the Checkpoint Charlie Museum here. That's the last hammer and sickle flag on the side of the building. We're just approaching Checkpoint Charlie. So this is Checkpoint Charlie, the historic crossing between east and west. Now a tourist attraction. When I was a kid, this would have been unthinkable. This is the US Army checkpoint here. I wonder who this guy is. I wonder if this is the last border guard, the one that let everyone through in 1989, November 1989. I remember watching that on the TV in the Student Union bar at City Poly. Here it is in context, the time, look, the US Army checkpoint. It's kind of really interesting to see this really potent location that was purely political reduced to a tourist attraction. And that's now what it means. It's sort of being commodified and packaged up as a monument, but obviously once it was functional. Usually monuments are designed as monuments. This was designed to serve a purpose, and now its purpose is tourism. It's amazing when you think about what this symbolised, the divide between East and West, between communism and capitalism. It was such a massive thing in that post-war period, like, you know, in my childhood. And like, you got all these kind of like Cold War souvenirs, like Soviet hats and old badges and medals and things. This is just along from the Brandenburg Gate to the east, so this would have been East Berlin. This is our final day in Berlin. Just about to go for my breakfast. This is a really beautiful building, isn't it? I think it's the something to do with the trams. It looks like it's a train station or a tube station. Really lovely old tiling here. So it's the last few hours here. Just going down this street here to get a gift for the wife. And Oliver, look, rarely not actually smoking in a shop. He's just finished one. He had to add that in as a moment of independence. Oh, we'll do some sort of wrap up maybe at the end, but it's been an incredible trip. Absolutely amazing. And those sort of trips that changes you, doesn't it, Oz?
Yeah. Really good, really brilliant. Made me realise I want to. Well, it's given me that like hunger to travel a lot that I think I've been gaining by going away more recently. So yeah, it's really good.
I think this must be the synagogue. Market here. It's lovely in the sunshine. Wouldn't have been too great yesterday. So I think we can wrap up our time in Berlin. It's been amazing, hasn't it, Ollie? It's been absolutely fantastic. I know I said I thought I'd do like a more detailed wrap up, but I feel like it's interesting reading that book, Ghosts to Berlin, when I've been here, because it really brings in what you sense is that there's too much for me to get into a video what this city symbolises and what it is and what's present here. But what I will say is we've loved it, and it's really taken us by surprise. It's been such a lovely, laid-back city. People have been really wonderful and friendly. The food's been great. The coffee's been amazing. That took me by surprise.
So good.
To try and grasp the other side of Berlin, the city that was a divided city that symbolised the idea of a divided city, and that it's interesting that it doesn't really have, I haven't really found a centre to it, and it was interesting because of the way that the wall was built. It's really difficult, I found, to work out whether we were east or west because of the way the wall wrapped itself around the city, and that where the whole central area was in the east and was sort of like abandoned in some respects, and these other areas that were near the wall were considered, what we now, we'd say they were liminal. They were like edgelands because of their proximity to the wall on the western side. I wish I'd had more of a sense of that before I came here in a way, maybe. But then I'm glad I didn't, because it would have overly kind of imposed itself on just allowing ourselves just to drift. As Ollie said, we were adrift in Berlin, gathering up the feelings of it. And I think it's one of those trips that we'll process over time, for a while, won't we? It'll be with us, and we'll gain the meaning from it. So I hope this video conveys some of our experience here. But it's been amazing. I think it's a place I'd return to for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Didn't go to any of the western parts, Charlottenburg, Zoo. Now I'm going to go home and watch Wings of Desire again. I haven't seen that film for years. You've never seen it?
I've never, don't really know what it is.
Have you got any final words, Ollie?
It's a beautiful city, again, very much marked by its past and its history, and it's something you very much need to physically go to experience, because it's not like a lot of other cities where the kind of, I guess, the essence of what you would consider what makes that city a city are concentrated in like landmarks. This city is very much, it's what makes Berlin is embedded in all of it, in like the bullet holes in the walls, in the like the disjointed architecture between where the wall was splitting like east and west, where you can tell quite blocky, Soviet, bit like brutalist architecture and stuff. But no, it's really good. It's beautiful, and you need to experience it, basically.
Beautifully put, Ollie. I couldn't have said that better myself, and in fact I didn't. Thank you so much for coming with us on this experience of Berlin, and as I always like to say, I look forward to seeing you on the next walk, wherever that may be. And who would have thought after the last video that the next one would be Berlin? So I can genuinely say that wherever that may be, it's not going to be somewhere as exotic as Berlin, but who can judge that?